Bismillah. Welcome back, Zoo Crew. It's day 38 of 90, and I guess this is the first video of this series that I'm doing without wearing my glasses. My glasses are somewhere, I'm just not sure where, and it's late in the day, and I didn't want to go searching for them. And really, I need them to see far, not close, so it is what it is, you know? Where to begin? Where to begin? So I mean, first of all, T minus 32 days until Japan. So this is something that just kind of happened, and I'll be going to Japan finally. This has been something on my bucket list since like 2013 at least, and this is the thing, like I haven't gone on vacation since literally probably 2013, and I was so much like brainwashed into thinking like, oh, like you need to delay all these things. You need to become successful. You need to have a business. You need to be established. Then you go and travel. And like realistically, if I had died in the last 10 years, I would have never got to see Japan, you know? So shout out to Damon. That's a real one. Literally like one of the realest dudes I've ever met. And I guess shout out to Stefan Aarnio as well, because if it wasn't for Stefan, I would have probably never met Damon. So, and like, this is the thing, whenever I was in Winnipeg, like Damon and his brother, like, and his mom literally treat me like family. So I'm like the honorary Woodward brother, you could say. And that's a big title in my opinion, and I'm honored. But yeah, so Japan is gonna be wild, I'm sure. Like literally starting the new year with a life-changing adventure, Land of the Rising Sun. And for those of you who know me in real life, like you'll know Japanese culture is like impacted me a lot, whether that's like ramen, anime, JDM cars, um, literally like everything about their culture. And like jokingly, I say like if I could pick any race to be, I would probably pick Japanese, you know? And really like my whole Instagram feed right now is literally just like showing me shit about Japan. And I think that's the same thing for Damon because like literally our whole conversation for the last like 3 weeks has been like going back and forth about like Japan and what we're gonna do while we're out there, you know? And yeah, I mean, so like, and like I sent him this meme where it's like Leonardo DiCaprio, like from Wolf of Wall Street, like doing like his sales pitch. And like Damon is a shark when it comes to sales, right? Like probably one of the best salesmen I've ever met. And so literally like I kept like trying to like convince myself, oh, like it's not the right time, like I can't go. And like trying to like talk myself out of going. And then like he's the wrong person for me to have tried to do that with because he literally was just like, well, let's do this, let's do this. And then like overcame all of my objections in true sales fashion. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that. And then I guess really like the main thing we should talk about today is like time, philosophy, money, relationships, emotions. And when I say emotions, it's mostly like fear, right? And I guess this even ties in with this whole notion of like the Japan trip because we've agreed that like we have to watch Tokyo Drift before we head out there, especially because we're going to be going to like this like underground car meet and whatnot. And there's a line in that movie when Han is like looking over like Shibuya crossing and he's like, look at all those people down there. They let fear control them and like for what? And then the main character is like, well, like what would they do? And then he's like, life is simple. You make choices and you don't look back. I mean, that's like me paraphrasing the quote, but any of you who've seen the movie, like you'll know exactly what line I'm talking about. And it's so true, and like it's becoming even more abundantly clear how much fear controls most people, myself included. And like it's just because like I have gone through this whole journey over the last like 30 some days, and like literally like I'm analyzing my life almost every day, like I'm reflecting, and then like because I have these videos I can go back in time and see what was going on like in my life on that certain day, right? And like the biggest realization I had this year was how much fear was controlling me, right? And how fearful I was of so many different things. And now that I'm like aware of this, I can see it in so many other people. Like they're literally not living the life they want to live because they're afraid, right? They're letting fear control them. And then like outside of this, like I'm realizing that like most like relationships, whether that's friendship, whether that's marriage, whether that's like any kind of interaction you're having with another person, it really comes down to your ability to communicate, right? And we're never taught how to communicate properly. And this is a huge issue because like there's no two people who are exactly the same, right? Every single person has lived their own life. Every single person's gone through their own experiences. And like this is the line Itachi says, right, from Naruto, where he's like, we all live based on our own like perceived notions of reality, and like our reality is based on our life experiences and knowledge, right? So like the knowledge I have and the life experience I have, somebody else is not going to have it, right? So the way I look at the world and like the way I perceive the world, you could say it's like a filter, right? Is going to be very different than the person next to me or like any other person. So now like if I'm having a conversation with somebody and like the emotions are getting heated, like first of all it's on me to like regulate my own emotions, but then let's say like I'm not able to regulate myself, right? And like now the emotions keep getting like in the way. You have to understand like the other person, their reaction, it doesn't have anything to do with you. The reaction is about them, right? So like whatever you're saying is triggering certain emotions in them, and then they're reacting in a certain way, right? So what happens is this person now is no longer conscious, their emotions have taken over, and that's the person driving the car, right? And then this is why like things will lead to so many misunderstandings, and this is why like it's very important, like if you're having a serious conversation with somebody, it needs to be in person. And like this is something I learned at Blackcard, this is something I've learned through sales training, that like 80% of communication is nonverbal, right? So like if you want to close somebody in terms of sales, you have a higher percentage chance of closing them in person, then like over video call, then over phone, then over email, then over text, right? The more like, or I guess rather, the less human the interaction becomes, the more room there is for miscommunication and misunderstanding, right? And like the reason they say 80% of communication is nonverbal, it's because of like body language, right? When you're talking to somebody, like their face is going to show you the emotions, it's going to show you what they're thinking. And this happens subconsciously. They're not like actively trying to like portray a certain face, right? Their emotions just come out. Unless there's some kind of psychopath that doesn't have any emotions, you know? But that's like a whole other thing. So I think it's like very important that you learn how to communicate with other people and like grow a bit of a thick skin, right? Don't let everything like affect you. And like this is something that I'm still learning, right? It's like especially for people like who have low self-esteem, or like you're highly neurotic and like you're very susceptible to negative emotions, like it's very easy to let the outside world influence you, and then like other people to like put you down, and then you start putting yourself down, and then you're like, oh, okay, well like I must not be a good person, or like I'm not like worthy of this, and then you end up self-sabotaging yourself or your relationships or your friendships, right? And I guess this is what like it ties into like this whole notion of why I enjoy philosophy so much, right? So in math and science, there's a right answer and a wrong answer. In philosophy, there's no such thing as a right answer or a wrong answer, right? It's like philosophy is about like understanding, right? So understanding what it is you're discussing, understanding the other person, understanding yourself, right? And like I posted this quote earlier today to my Twitter, or I guess X now, where it says like wisdom is knowing other people, enlightenment is knowing yourself, right? And this is what I mean. It's like life is about learning, life is about understanding. Like you're never going to know everything, right? And if you think you know everything, then you're probably not a very smart person, because like again, this is another philosophy quote, like the only true wisdom is knowing that I know nothing, right? Because like when you learn something and like you start to understand it, then you realize like, oh shit, there's so much more I need to learn, right? And like again, this ties in with this whole notion of school, right? People think like, oh, I'm gonna go to university, I'm gonna graduate, and now I'm done learning. And it's like, no, bro, that's literally when your journey of learning starts, right? Now you're in control of what you learn. Now you create your own curriculum. You decide what it is you want to like learn about, right? And then you go and learn. And life is a long journey of just learning and growing. And if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And it's the same thing, like this metaphor that I use multiple times of like the heartbeat. Life is going to be up and down. If it's just a flat line, it means you're dead, right? And life is going to give you curveballs. Sometimes this shit's going to be good, sometimes shit's going to be bad. And life is about how you react to these situations, right? So it's like, how do you frame the situation? So, like, if something bad is happening to you, you can automatically become a victim. You can become defensive. You can put your guard up and like you can try and like attack the other person to like defend yourself or your ego or yeah, like these things. Or you can just like try and pause, take a step back and be like, okay, look, like I can hear what this person's actually saying and like whatever like they're saying right now, it's their emotions talking. It doesn't mean that's the reality of how they feel or what they think, right? And then like outside of that, like you gotta let people go at their own pace, you know, like time is not a real thing. Timelines are not a real thing. Deadlines are not a real thing, right? So don't rush your process. Don't rush other people's processes, right? Like the way I process my feelings and emotions is gonna be very different than somebody else. So like now it's like I could argue with this person and I can try and like present them with my logic, but like they might not comprehend my logic or the way their brain works is in a different way, right? So it's like we could get mad and like argue all day, or it's like we can take a pause and be like, okay, look, like this is where I'm at, this is where you're at. What's like the middle ground? Like, can we meet in the middle? How do we meet in the middle, right? And like a lot of this is like if you don't figure out how to do this or like put this into practice, you'll never be able to have strong friendships or strong relationships with anybody, right? And yeah, and I mean, this is something me and Mina are literally like working on, and like it's like a muscle you have to build, right? So like a lot of our issues came from like us not being able to communicate properly, and it's not even that like so we would let that get like build up to a point where like we're not communicating, and then we let like the communication issue turn into a huge fight, and then we like break up. But then it's like we broke up for like some stupid reason, not like for any real reason, right? And then now it's like we're at a point where it's like we'll have these like heavy conversations or hard conversations, and like we're trying to figure out how to navigate it together, right? Like we're trying to figure out how to communicate so the other person can understand like what we're saying or how we feel, you know? And it's literally like going to the gym, because when you first start going to the gym, like you feel weak and it's freaking hard and like it's tough, you know? But then the more you go, the more muscles you build, the more strength you build over time, it becomes easier and easier and easier, right? So learning how to communicate, it's a skill you have to build. Same thing like having self-worth, having like confidence in yourself and like your own ability. These are all skills you have to build, right? It's like sure, some people might be born with like a natural talent in communicating, and some people might be born with like natural sense of confidence or whatever, but it's like don't focus on the exception to the rule, focus on the rule, right? There's always going to be outliers, and like if you're like living your life or trying to live your life based on how outliers live, it's going to create chaos for you, because again, that's why they're called outliers, right? It's not like they're not the norm. And really there is no norm per se. Like everyone is an outlier in some regard. It's just people haven't like gone inward and like reflected enough to figure out what it is that their like true skill, true calling, or true passion in life is, right? Everyone is so hung up on these like deadlines that society's created, and like this whole notion of like, oh, I need to be making money, and like people don't even understand why they want to be making money, right? So many people I know, like they've made hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, and it's literally just sitting in their bank account. And it's like, what are you doing? You know, like money is a tool. You buy a tool and you put it in a toolbox and collect dust. Like, what was the point in buying that tool? You're better off using the tool to the point where like you have to replace the tool, right? And money, again, it's all about velocity, right? So like the economy would not like would come to a complete standstill if people weren't spending money. And this is what happens during depressions, right? Or like economic recessions. People are so scared of spending their money that now they're like holding it, right? And then you get to a point where you have so much inflation that your money is now worthless. So like in those scenarios, it's much better. Like when we're living in times of inflation, you don't want to be holding on to money. You want to be using it, you want to be getting rid of it, right? You want to convert it into things that are going to hold their value. This is why people buy Rolex watches or like investment watches. This is why people buy real estate, right? This is why people own businesses, things that can absorb the inflation, right? Outside of this, your goal in life should be to enjoy your life. So spend money on good food, spend money on yourself, buy nice clothes that fit well, are well tailored, right? Obviously, don't overextend, don't go beyond your budgets or like your means, but also like live your life, enjoy your life while you're alive, you know? You don't want to just wake up one day when you're 60 years old and now be like, okay, well, let me go travel the world, but you're like physically incapable and like so tired that you can't enjoy any of the places you're visiting, right? It's a completely backwards way to live. You're much better off like spending your money on things like experiences, right? Go see the world, go enjoy nice restaurants, and just try things. That's the whole point of life is you're here to try things, you're here to experience the world and like everything it has to offer, right? And like look, money will come and go. Time is the one thing you will never be able to get back. Time, once you've spent it, it's gone, right? So if you truly value yourself as a person, you're going to value your time and then you're going to value other people's time, right? And you want to really make sure you're making the most of your life. Have a bucket list of things and then cross those things off your bucket list, right? And again, like audit your life, see how like where your time is being spent and like close mental loops, right? Close mental tabs. Like right now for the last probably literally since I've moved out, my main goal like has literally been just closing as many mental tabs as possible before the new year starts. So I'm not carrying all of this extra stuff into the new year, right? Because a lot of these like small things, it's like I have all this tech that I want to get rid of or like sell, like old MacBooks, old iMacs, iPads, etc. And like it's just sitting collecting dust and it's been like in the back of my head, like I'm not actively thinking about it, but it's taking up bandwidth in my brain, right? So it's like, okay, let me go and like clear these tabs. So when I start the new year, everything's fresh, you know, or as fresh as it can be. And given that like we're very, very close to the next year, I think the next video I'll talk about is like goal planning, goal setting rather, using a planner, digital versus analog, these kind of things, you know? But yeah, really like my main point today was enjoy your life, be generous, be kind, don't just hoard money. Like if you have money, you're not going to take it with you to the grave. So enjoy your money, spend it on people in your life. And like really like I've gotten to a point where I don't gain any pleasure from buying things anymore, right? Like easily I could have just replaced my like winter jacket because the button fell off, or like I could replace my winter boots, but it's like well, winter is pretty much over at this point. Like January starting, end of January, I'll be in Japan, and then February, like we're done, right? So it's like I'm better off putting that money towards something else that's like actually gonna bring me some kind of joy, or spending it on making someone else's life easier, you know? Um, Mind you, you got to be very careful. Like, if you're an overly generous person, like people will enter your life to try and take advantage of you. So you have to be very, very careful of who you let into your life and who you're being like kind to and who you're being overly generous with, right? Not everyone deserves the same level of you that you give to like your tier one friends, right? Somebody who's like a tier three friend is not going to get the same access or treatment that a tier one friend will get, you know? And like when I say tier one friend, that means like somebody who's like your chosen family, right? And like for me, that would be like somebody like Damon, somebody like John, somebody like Phil, right? Somebody like Mina. These are all like tier one people in my life. Like these are people that I am like happy to go above and beyond and like do whatever it is I can to help them or like remove stress from their life. And I know it goes both ways, right? And then like I have tier three friends. These are just people like who will show up when times are good, like fair weather friends, or people who are like don't really care about what's going on in my life, but they're happy to hang out when times are good. You know, they're happy to tag along for the ride. They're happy to just game. They're not really like trying to motivate you to do business. They're not trying to motivate you to like achieve your goals, right? And like, look, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, you can have tier one friends, tier two friends, tier three friends, but like how you deal with these people has to be according to like what bucket they fall into, right? And I guess before we end this, like I'm just gonna give one more shout out to Damon. Damon, if you're watching this, you are a real one. I'm super, super thankful to have somebody like you in my life. Um, you're like a true brother to me, you know? And 2026 is gonna be an epic year. I already can feel it. And hopefully we can start some cool collaborations, you know, maybe we'll start a business and move to Japan, relocate for good. And like this is like one thing, so we'll end it on this, right? So when Stefan passed away and then Damon like pretty much resurrected the company to like honor Stefan's legacy, um he would like this is the thing, like the way things ended, like a lot of that did come down to like him being such like a kind-hearted person and like doing things and like having faith in people and being loyal to people who weren't loyal to him, right? And like even outside of this, so like I approached him and I was like, hey, I want to build this well in Pakistan, and like I want it to be under Stefan's name in Black Card University. So I reached out to Damon, I reached out to everyone in the internal team, I reached out to everyone I know that was like close to Stefan, and I was like, hey, do you guys want to pitch in on this, right? Damon was the only person who was like, yeah, I'm down. So me and him split the whole cost of the well. And then after the fact, like I asked a few of these people, I was like, yo, how come you didn't like want to pitch in on this? Like this man Stefan like had a huge impact on your life. And like why wouldn't you want to honor his legacy, right? And then some of these people were like, oh well, I didn't have any money and like I couldn't afford to throw down XYZ amount. And it's like, bro, like me and Damon were in a place where we were willing to carry majority of the cost anyways, right? And it wouldn't have impacted us. So like you could have thrown in $1, you could have thrown in $10, you could have thrown in $5. Like the dollar amount didn't matter. It was just the principle of it. Like this person had such a big impact in your life and you weren't even willing to throw down $1, you know? So yeah, I mean that's the level of like character that Damon showed, you know? And then even like in my dark time, like I was attacking him and like I was going after him and like he stayed composed, you know? And then like even now, like we're able to be friends, we're able to talk because like he understood like I was in a dark place and like when whatever I was saying, like it wasn't the truth, it was like the emotions. And like I was just looking for a place to like throw the emotions or like a person I could like dump this shit on, you know? And so that's what I mean. Like, so you can pay for school, but you can't buy class, you know? Like, so out of like everyone I met through my time at Black Card, when it comes to somebody having class and like real character, loyalty, honor, like Damon is that guy, you know? Don't get me wrong, there were some other good people, but like somebody who encompasses all of those aspects or traits, I would say Damon is that guy, you know? And I think it's fitting that like he's somebody who's still gonna honor Stefan's legacy, right? All the other people that Stefan found and like brought to Winnipeg, like somebody was a welder, somebody was a goat farmer, like somebody was doing XYZ thing, you know? And then like he turned them into sharks, he turned them into sales guys, he taught them about real estate, taught them about business, you know? And then like sure enough, after Stefan passed, like they all went away and like into their own things. And like who knows if they even remember the impact this guy had on his life, but like I know me and I know Damon, like we're never gonna forget Stefan, you know? So rest in peace, Stefan Aarnio. I guess I dedicate this whole video to Stefan Aarnio and to Damon Woodward, two of the realest dudes I've ever met in my life. Anyways, Zoo Crew, that's it for today. We're gonna see y'all tomorrow.